Hi, everyone. Welcome to True Disabled Story. My name is Nico, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man with parted blonde hair, large blue and brown spectacles, and a colorful short sleeve button up shirt with pictures of dinosaurs on them. I'm seated in front of a purple wall and some bookcases. This is my home office. Like roughly 25% of Americans and 17% of Philadelphians, I'm disabled. Whether we look locally or nationally, disabled communities are full of dynamic, diverse, and frankly delightful people with their own stories to tell. All we have to do is listen. Now, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I've been disabled my whole life. I probably always will be disabled, but I'm naturally curious about the experiences and stories of other disabled people. So I'm lucky to have my friend Larissa join me today to talk about their experience and what they have to share with us. Larissa, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm good, Nico. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So, Larissa, I know that we haven't had much chance to interact before this, so I'm really interested to know what was your path to diagnosis like? Was this a surprise, or was it something maybe you were kind of pursuing or had a few clues to?
I was my diagnosis is I have cerebral palsy. I have an intellectual disability. I was born with this. I I know no other way. So yeah.
All right, cool. I am the same way in that my disability was diagnosed right at birth. So I often think about, like, for this question for myself, sometimes I think about how I've treated my condition over the years, what like treatments I've tried and have found useful, and that what things have I tried and maybe not found useful. Have you had that experience?
Yes. With so when I was younger, I used to do PT,
Hmm.
OT, the standard for school. Um and now that I've been out of school for some time, I I find that working out, specific workouts that I customize for myself,
Uh-huh.
are the best way to go about these things.
Really?
Um, yeah, and because I haven't had PT in 17 years, because once you turn 18, your surfaces go away,
Right.
which it's mind-boggling to me that that happens. Another story for another time. But yeah, I find trial and error with my workouts, what works for me, what doesn't. And yeah, so that's been my journey. Um, some things I just can't do, and some things I have to modify. So I do what works best for me in them. And it also depends on how many spoons I have during the day.
Absolutely. So Larissa is describing spoon theory, the theory that many disabled people or chronically ill people even might have a limited number of spoons or units of energy to allocate for given activities or events in their day. Um, Showering takes so many spoons, driving to work takes spoons, and you can never really tell how many spoons or how much energy you'll have from one day to the next. Larissa, thank you for introducing that concept for our listeners. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm sorry if I didn't break that down and explain it very well.
No, I thought you did great. And in fact, you're not the first adult with cerebral palsy to discuss customizing exercises or customizing workouts. One of my other friends, Nicole, has talked a lot on her page about exercises that she can do or workouts that she can and can't do. So I appreciate hearing about it from your perspective as well, because no two cases of disability or no two cases of cerebral palsy are identical. Awesome.
Absolutely.
So Larissa, you talk about, I mean, you mentioned a little bit about services you got when you were 18 and younger, and then how those services went away. I'm interested to know a little bit more about what impact your disability has had throughout your life. And you can think about this in terms of like going to school or finding work or adulthood versus childhood. however you want to consider it.
Well, so all throughout my all throughout my school years, I was privy to I was in special education and I had PTOT speech for some time. And when I turned 18, all that went away. When I graduated high school, all that went away. And as far as work is concerned and employment, I was given two options for work: a Walmart greeter and working at a shelter workshop, which for me at that time, I was like, nope. So I was given no other options besides that. Um, and I pretty much had to find my own path, which was frustrating in itself. The fact that I had to find my own path and not receive help outside of school for employment, and the fact that those were my only two options it's insulting to me.
It's insulting when I hear about it. Larissa, I'm so sorry. You're capable of so much more than just greeter or workshop person.
Yes. And when so it was my last IEP meeting. IEP meeting is an individualized educational plan. So this was my last one. So this was what I had gone through, what my goals were, how I had done throughout school. And we a few weeks prior, I had a job coach come in and they were like, what do you want to do when you get out of school? And at that time, I wanted to be a massage therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to the last IEP meeting, the sheltered workshop was brought up and the Walmart greeter. And when I brought up toileting, when my mom and I brought up toileting, because that's a big issue and I can't transfer myself, so I need assistance with that, there were two options provided to me: adult diaper or catheter. Those were the only two options. And my mom and I lost it.
Right.
As you could imagine.
Yeah.
And I never did those jobs. I'm a disabled advocate. I'm a writer. I've I've been sought out and written for PBS Kids in regards to disability representation in children's television. And I'm currently a DEAI chairperson, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility chairperson for the National Council on Independent Living. And I've been doing that for 3 years.
Thank you for the work that you do. That's really important.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me the platform to talk about it.
Of course.
So yeah, that's pretty much been my journey throughout my adulthood and
Sure.
everything.
For our listeners, IEPs don't come into play just for CP or intellectual disabilities. I had an IEP myself, even with my own condition, mainly about the things that I was allowed to do during gym class and things I wasn't allowed to do. I wasn't allowed to do football. I was allowed to do archery, which is weird because if you asked me then, and even if you ask me now, would you rather be shot or tackled? I would much more rather be tackled. Anyway, Larissa, so you mentioned that your services ended when you hit 18, and these were lots of services. You had PT, OT, speech therapy. Do you think that you would have an easier time of adult life or independent living now if you had those services continue past age 18?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I was so I had went to a concert a few years back, and I had spent the night in this New York City, and
Sure.
I had come back, and I was so tight because of my
Mm.
CP, and it was the tightest I've ever been in my life. I was on the couch for almost 2 months. I wound up having to take medication that I've never taken before because I've been that tight.
Hmm.
Imagine, I could only imagine what I would be like if I had had PT during that time. Even now, I think I would be much improved if I had that service,
I'm so sorry. You deserve those services and you didn't get them, and that's not right.
right? And so many people, I couldn't, I could only imagine if they had. I have friends that have had therapy, and it's only lasted a couple weeks because of insurances. So it's just not a me problem; it's a universal problem that needs to be addressed in a
Absolutely.
bigger way.
Absolutely. And sharing stories like yours is how we really humanize that problem and bring it home for folks. Larissa, as we describe and discuss kind of what your adulthood has been like versus your childhood, or even what your journey has been now from when you were first newly established independently living to now, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself? Or if you could go back in time through some time machine, right? What advice would you give yourself?
I would say it gets harder, not easier, but you can manage with the proper supports in place. And advocating for yourself is so important and vital. And having that support and being able to speak up when you notice things are wrong, not only for you, but for the greater disability community as a whole.
Those are very wise words. Larissa, thank you. Even as I myself go through life, and I recently turned 36, I think myself about like what possibly could have been if I had, if someone had given me advice or if I had seen like more disabled role models in my childhood. I could be doing the same exact meaningful work, but 10 years earlier. Man. Larissa, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation. And you did well with, the planned questions and with the deviations as well. I was fascinated to hear your story. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Sure. I want to give you a chance that I give everybody that I talk to for this project and for others. Uh, if you're open to networking, making connections, or if you're just like chronically online like I am, where can people find you online? Or if not,
Um,
and you just want to like promote yourself and be your own cheerleader, to give yourself bragging rights, right? What cool
mm,
things you up to? What have you accomplished? What win do you want to talk about? Hit me.
well, I'm a writer, so people can check me out at larissaswriting.com. I also have a Facebook page by the same name. Um, I am always writing, always advocating. I'm busy with my work at Nickel, which I'm just about to end my term in July. Um, Nickel stands for the National Council on Independent Living. I would recommend people use that as a resource. Um, and yeah, those are my two big things that I'm doing, the writing and the Nickel stuff. So,
Larissa, that's awesome. May you have a fantastic rest of your term at Nickel. May you become a best-selling author. Wherever you go, no matter what you do, I'm rooting for you. Thank you again, Larissa.
Thank you.